Man, I've seen a lot of Teslas around lately. Uh,
Have you?
every every day I've gone out, I've seen one or more, which is
Wow.
pretty neat. And not just Scott Hamilton's.
Uh,
I was gonna say, especially down in that area, yeah. There's a guy up that lives up the road from me that has two, so I see him all all the time.
where do you live, Marty?
South Charleston.
South Charleston. Okay.
And how about you, Joe? John?
John, Sandstone down between Beckley and Lewisburg.
Oh, okay. You're Larry's friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost neighbor.
Right. Sometimes neighbor.
Sometimes neighbor.
Speaking of Larry, did he get his solar system turned on?
Uh, Last time I talked to him, there was some delay. I'm not sure. I do know Thornton got his turned on.
All right.
He's very happy about it. Apparently, AEP owes him a lot of kilowatts right now. It's that time of year.
Yeah, mine's been cranking away.
He was complaining that he was going to have to go put gas in his Prius. Their first time he'd done it since the COVID.
We still have one gas powered vehicle, and we gassed it up on June, I don't know, 18th, 19th, and the last time it had been filled up was March 18th, so it had been 3 months.
Wow.
And it really didn't even need it. It just, I felt bad for the gas sitting in it, and it had a quarter of a tank, so I figured I probably should go ahead and put some fresh in it. All right, well, we're 3 after. I knew Rick wasn't going to be on. He said he was traveling. I might give everybody another minute or so.
Yeah, he did one of these multi-day jaunts to Atlantic Coast, Baltimore.
So that's all that. He has to stay overnight, like at a state park or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he was staying at Blackwater this time. That he was stopping at Stonewall for lunch and fueling up there, and then making it on to Blackwater and plugging in overnight. Yeah, it's a real challenge in his car.
Yeah.
What kind of car does he have?
Chevy Bolt. The Bolt EV. It's a pretty nice little car, but got a lot of room in it.
It's a shame that they just don't, the DC fast chargers, other than Tesla, haven't caught on yet. We're trying to do what we can as a agency or association.
Speaking of which, we're up. I think I've gotten, I don't know, I think we're 60 some responses now.
Wow.
Good.
A lot of good comments also coming in with those. All right, everybody. Well, I guess we could probably go ahead and get started. In the summer, it's always tough for people and their schedules and trying to get together. I did want to make a note that we were going to try to record these for YouTube, and I'd put that in the announcement, so want to make sure everyone's aware of that kind of going forward, so we can share these and hopefully engage a few more people on the digital platforms that we're working on now. All right. So I had a couple things jotted down for ideas, but this is kind of like, so we don't really have a formal agenda, so some just free-flowing stuff. Did anybody bring any show and tell objects that I mentioned in my email?
Not so much show and tell of something I already have, but I'd like to talk about the cabin air filter on the Model 3s and what people have done to replace them, whether they've gone with the HEPAs that are off non-Tesla markets and so forth. So that'll be a subject later on.
Well, we could go ahead and hit that. I haven't replaced mine yet. I don't know, Marty, have you replaced your cabin air filter?
No, but I should.
Yeah, mine, when the air conditioning's not on, is telling me that it needs to be replaced. I hazard to think what it may look like. Um, let me see if I can figure out how to share something here.
You can share the screen. Let me stop sharing.
Okay, it's.
Ah,
Do I click on my?
At the bottom, there should be a green share button.
Yeah.
And then you
Okay.
choose which monitor you want to share.
There's a cert. Yeah. Well. Okay.
There you
I'll
go.
get back the Model 3 from Tesla. This is an organization or company that Eric had promoted, Abstract Ocean, and you get a HEPA filter with activated charcoal, and that's the rear view. Let me go to the next picture. They're a little pricey, but supposedly they're to last longer. That's the front view. And they're $100 for a pair, and you need two of them when you change them out. There's two of them in the Model 3 at least. And Teslas are $17 a piece. They are not HEPA. As you can see, they look like the regular cabin air filters that you've had before on other cars. And from what I understand, they're reasonably easy to replace. You need I forget what he called it, but a little plastic tool to essentially pop some of the panels inside the cabin off to get to it. And so once you get those, sponge or whatever they're called, that tool you just keep. So, and there's a step-by-step guide, which, as is typical with Tesla, they've got those types of things. And let me see if I've got a review forums. And I'm sorry to scroll past you and everything. And someone was asking about, been watching videos about buying third party, and there's comments, everything from Corona. They think there'll be a restriction of the air filter. And someone said it's available on Tesla. No, it's not, as it, they are for the S and X. And your car's not a clean room and so forth. So I just wanted to get people's opinions on what you thought. It'd be about triple the cost of Teslas.
Well, I guess my first thought would be, if it is a HEPA filter, it does seem like it would be more restrictive, and that the air system, as a whole would need to be designed to account for that. Like, does additional decreased flow cause the fan to work harder, and therefore maybe it fails earlier or something? I don't know. It seems like the system would need to be designed with HEPA in mind, like it is on the S and X.
Well, it has to have more surface area for the filtration too.
Yeah.
So the convolutions would have to be bigger or something, so that the extra resistance is made up for with more surface area for the air to flow through.
Okay.
That would be my concern. I would probably, if it was me, I'd probably stick with the standard filter. But if you give it a shot, we're always interested to hear what happens.
Yeah, let mine be the guinea pig. And that's what I was also trying to figure out is, are there some people out there who have had them and in service for a long time? But obviously with the Model 3,
Yeah.
everybody that got them early, like Marty and I, or relatively early, this is the 2-year anniversary to change them out. So, yeah, with that, maybe the best thing is, since I'm still under warranty, is to replace it with the Tesla one, because they encourage on this part, do it yourself. I don't think that's going to have any effect on any sort of warranty if you've done it yourself properly.
Right.
And if I have an early failure on a fan motor, well, I replaced it and it's your filter. So good perspective.
Do you have those little plastic tools? Maybe I can borrow them from you.
I don't have them yet, but when I do get them, I'll be glad to loan them to you, Marty.
Okay.
And anyone else that is close by and wants to get them, or will pay postage to get them. I don't know how big they are, whether they'd fit in a regular letter envelope, but I appreciate the comments. And there's also up near the grill underneath the air intake, there's some things that they talk about. Apparently Tesla has one further down to prevent leaves from getting all the way to these filters. But some people are selling aftermarket that are just underneath the grill up near the top where you can easily reach down and clean leaves off of it. And so I'm thinking about that, but people talk about it because it's a kind of a plate, it's plastic with holes in it. Again, air restriction.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with, of course, fluid flow. And so I'm thinking about whether to get one of those or just leave it as it is, as Tesla had originally designed it. So
I think while it's under warranty, it might be best bet, keep it as stock as possible, and let other people get some more experience with those other filters and see what happens.
and look for them on forums. And as I read more over the next year or two, I'll let the club know.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm out of warranty now.
Are you?
Yeah. Got my 50,000 miles in.
I'm approaching 38,000. I got to rotate tires in about another 1,000. And I told Firestone when I had my van in, I said, I'm going to keep this thing going for a couple more years so I can get the Cybertruck. And they were just like big-eyed. We want to see it. We want to see it. I'll be glad to come show it to you. So I'm going to have to do the tire work on it, just like the 3. Okay.
Good thing you have a flat driveway, because you're not going to get that thing in your garage.
Yeah, I do have a garage, a flat driveway to get in, and we did take a measurement, and it will fit. I don't think we would keep it routinely in there because it's a long story, but as Marty knows, I've got a camper in front of the other side of the garage, but we could physically fit it in.
Yeah, nothing can hurt that thing anyway. It doesn't matter if it hails or something.
Okay.
There was a cute post, I think, on Teslarati that showed the size comparison of every big truck, like 30 or 40 different models, versus the Cybertruck, and you had to get up to like an F650 till you found something that was bigger. It's a huge beast. So people are going to notice you when you get down the road, Scott.
Well, I have to admit, just like the 3, I was very happy that someone over in Huntington let us come drive it. I'm going to search out, and I'd be willing to drive a reasonable distance to a Tesla showroom that would say, yes, you can come see it and you can come drive it, because I want to do that before I buy this, for sure. Once I got in the 3, the Friends 3, it just sealed the deal. And then about 3 weeks later, I got my confirmation email, and it was like, no hesitation.
Hey, Scott, do you remember Mike Blessing from Carbide Day? Yeah, well, he's a distant cousin of mine. My mother was a Blessing.
Okay.
And, well, she still is, but she was a maiden name was Blessing. Anyway, he's got one order, and he is number 240,000 and something in line. And he said, won't get it till 2 years after they start making them.
Well, there'll be a fair number of people that drop off, I think, just like some of the 3s and everything. So, like I said, I just want to keep my van going long enough. Okay, we move on to the next subject.
Okay. You want to quit sharing, Scott?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Done.
All right.
Well, I'd like to hear from Jim and John about some of their experiences. Both of you guys have Teslas, right?
I think Jim's got a Bolt, and John, I think, is looking.
All I have is a glorified golf cart at the moment. Like all-wheel drive Textron Prowler that we go all over the farm on and love it. So.
Well, speaking of glorified golf carts, I just invested in Acromoto, the fun utility vehicle.
FUV.
Price. Sorry, what?
The FUV, yeah.
Yeah, I just invested some money in their stock. I'm hoping there'll be another Tesla.
That's the one in Oregon, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Larry,
I actually
Larry got
I
ahead of
actually saw it at the down in Austin at the fully charged thing. They had it on display there, and apparently, if you were somebody famous, you got to drive it around at night. But I wasn't one of those.
Well, I do have something to talk about, though. If I wanted to get your all's advice, I've been looking at trying to figure out what electric car would be best for us here with a mile-long gravel driveway up, where everything we have right now is all-wheel drive, a Subaru and a Toyota, and 3/4 of a mile of it's fairly smooth, but I wouldn't want to come up here with a Volt or something that's like 2 inches off the ground. I haven't tempted Larry to try to bring his Tesla up here yet. But so I've been looking at things, and our choices are either to get something soon that's used and just play with it for a few years, or to wait and get something in 2 or 3 years that might be more durable and really something we could trade our car in on. So I've been looking at the BMW i3, some used ones, and just thinking that rear wheel drive and that light frame, it only weighs like 2,200 pounds or something, 2,300 pounds, that thing might maneuver up our driveway a lot of times, and it was cheap enough. The one I liked got away from me last week, though. Something with 6,000 miles on it, and they deliver from within 500 miles for free, so 16,000. So that got away. And I just don't know. I don't know if anybody's had any experience with those. They market it as a city car, but some people say they go really well on country roads.
I think a lot of times the city car moniker also is referring to the range that's available. Right. And so, like, what kind of range do you need?
Well, basically, it'd be nice to get to Beckley or Lewisburg and back. I think we could do Beckley, but Lewisburg would be a pinch. And, I was just thinking something to toy around with for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think you'd have to charge getting to Lewisburg and back. And in wintertime, you may even have to do that getting to Beckley. The things has pretty limited range, unless you got the one with the range extender.
Yeah, and I really didn't want that.
Yeah.
John, I live 1.7 miles down a gravel road.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an 850-foot driveway on a 17-degree slope.
Oh my.
And I have a Bolt.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no problem.
Uh-huh. Your ground clearance on the Bolt? I've never seen a Bolt. I've never been trying to stop in and see one. We've had the dog with us or something when we go by a dealership that has them.
I've only drugged the bottom slightly once. I went up, I don't know if you know, I live in the Canaan Valley. Mm-hmm. And I live in you could say a gated community here in the Canaan Valley, with probably about close to a 2,000-foot change in elevation in various parts of where we're at. And I went up to the top to check on a friend's house, and he's got a big lip on his driveway that I drug slightly. That's the only time I've really drugged the bottom. My only problem is the car's never clean because of the dust.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Do you worry about, I just worry about banging up the bottom on an electric car, compromising the batteries. What do you all think about that?
No. Before the Bolt, I had a Corvette. Uh-huh. And on these roads here, I could not drive the center of the road. I had to drive way off on either side to keep the bottom from dragging. And even now and then, because the air dam only had a 2.5-inch clearance, and I hit metal at 4 inches.
Mm.
But I don't know if you guys can see the screen I'm sharing, but it's got the ground clearance on the Model 3 and the Bolt.
Yeah, I have some friends with gravel driveways I've driven up, and No, I've never had a trouble with Model 3 or the Volt with dragging. I make sure I drive on the ridges and not in the normal treadway if the ridge is high.
I've test driven a Bolt, and I thought that it had pretty decent for a hatchback style car. I thought it had pretty decent ground clearance.
There's some pretty good deals on them online now to use CarMax.
Mm-hmm.
Check out CarMax.
Yeah, it's been out 3 years, so a lot are coming off lease because a lot of them were leased for 3 years. People thought that after 3 years, Chevy would radically improve them, and the only thing they've done in the 3 years is they've added 10% to the range. They haven't changed the interiors. They haven't changed the information system.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like they've given up on them.
But a used Bolt, I mean, with its range and capabilities, and it does have a little more ground clearance than a Model 3, I mean, that might be a good option if you can find a good deal on a used one.
They're getting to be around 20,000 now, the ones I've been looking at. Of course, I love the I-Pace. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that. I wanted to see them in Charleston now they don't have any there. The dealership.
I touched one once at the car show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in Ohio, and I was really serious about one down in Charlotte. They had 49,000 with only 6,000 miles on it.
I would be a little concerned with some of those vehicles. Here's another concern, especially with like the BMW and the Jaguar.
Right.
But just like there's a gentleman who's been on our calls before who had that Mercedes B-Class EV.
Okie, is that his name?
Okie Horton. Yeah, that was his name. But getting service for these things from some of these, especially those dealers, like they don't want to service them and they don't want to carry them. It's like, if they don't want to carry them and they're not really pushing them, what kind of service can you expect later?
Right.
And he's kind of running into that with the Mercedes, and there's no one in West Virginia that will touch it. And you're looking at trying to transport it some long distance to Charlotte or somewhere to get service.
Right.
So that's another feather for the Bolt is and not every Chevy dealer is going to support it either, but at least there are some in the state that will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're somewhat popular. I know that we had one of these. The last one of these we had were physically together. Salesman from Hurricane brought a Bolt over, and they had two, and he's told me within a week they'd sold both of them.
Is that right?
There's a demand for those things if the dealers will sell them.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing about the Bolt, I mean, I like the hatchback format personally. I would even prefer that. Like, I would prefer a Model Y over a Model 3 because the hatchback and more cargo space, more functionality capability.
Same here.
But that being said, the Bolt, the biggest issue that I had with it was one, lack of charging network. And it's relatively, even if you have DC fast charging available, it still only maxes out at like 50 kilowatts. So if you plan on taking it long distances, and even if there is a charging network available, which in West Virginia, we don't even have that, but even if you were in an area with a charging network, the speed of charging is so low that it's going to take a while to get anywhere. But if you're not trying to use it in that capacity, if you've got another vehicle that you use for longer trips or you rent something, and you just want to use it as a regional drive around type vehicle, I think something like a Bolt's a great choice, especially here in West Virginia.
That's the way I use it.
And if you live other places, like we have friends that live around Chicago, and they go everywhere with it. They've been to New Orleans. We met them in Cincinnati. There's enough EA charging points around that they had no problem going places from Chicago. It's just here in West Virginia. Jim, by the way, I wanted to mention something to you, seeing how you live in Canaan Valley. Rivian has said that they are going to install fast DC chargers in adventure locations so that people will be able to use their Rivians. And I would think that Canaan Valley would be one of those adventure locations. So maybe we could work with you and the community and somebody in the community up there to convince Rivian to install a fast DC charger in the Canaan Valley. I don't know when they want comments or anything, but maybe I was thinking of places in West Virginia. There are three possibilities: Canaan Valley, Elkins, and Lewisburg. You know, all being portals into different parts of the Mon. And the number one I thought would be Canaan Valley to put a DC fast charger in. So maybe we could, if we can't convince EA to put one in, maybe we could at least convince Rivian to put one in, though I don't know how you get there.
Yeah, I just saw that new map that was put out from the Washington to the West Coast, a couple of routes there. And you can see that big hole in there. West Virginia is totally bypassed.
Yeah, Jim and I sat on, Robert and I sat on the webinar, and it seems like they want places where they'll get lots of business for their chargers. And they're skeptical about West Virginia having enough electric cars to.
I'm still hunting through these various websites for the charging companies, because way back when I came across one of them, I don't remember what, I should have bookmarked at the time, but I didn't. But there was a suggested letter that could be sent to, city fathers or planning commissions or something like that on the benefits of installing charging stations. And I'm still looking for that damn thing, and I can't find it. But, some of the, and now I don't know how much you know about what's going on here with Timberline Ski Resort and bankruptcy, and then a new outfit came in to take it over. You guys anywhere aware of that?
Well,
a little bit.
It was bankrupt, but not what the later developments were.
Well, no, the whole thing was a fiasco. But anyway, an outfit out of Indiana came in and bought it, and they are absolutely going to town to get ready for this next ski season here. So for this area, this is being a big shot in the arm, seriously, because they're investing in the infrastructure of the ski resort. They're putting in $10 million.
Wow.
Wow.
That would change Timberline tremendously.
The new lifts, they ripped out everything lift-wise, and they're putting in new lifts now.
And this is a company from Indiana. That's not exactly a ski center out there.
No, well, here's the deal. It's the ski resort in Indiana is called Perfect North. It's probably nearest big city might be Cincinnati. And the story is that some guy 40 years ago was working on his PhD, where the subject matter was where would be the best place in Indiana to build a ski resort. So he researched the entire state, came up on this farm somewhere that were owned by the Perfect family. That's their last name. And they built a ski resort 40 years ago. And have been very successful at it. And if you look at their website and their the history of the place, they plow a ton of money back into it every single year.
Wow.
And they decided to buy the dregs of Timberline. They ripped out all the old lifts. They're in the process of ripping out the piping for the snow guns and putting all new stuff in it. And the work is just, since they hit the ground here running, the work is just going on phenomenally.
Are they fixing up the resort too, the buildings?
Well, I don't know where that stands on it. The first thing they say, we are not in the real estate business,
Okay.
unlike the old Timberline. So I don't know what's going to happen with those buildings and things like that yet. Their focus is skiing. But anyway, for this area, that's another draw for this area. And even though we have charging at both the state parks, that's still slow charging. And I guess from what I heard I think with this group, they're going to be putting in another charger over at the science center, the Junior Science Center.
Oh, I think there was a talk about a donation from Chip Pickering.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what it was, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Chip has this fund. He uses it for several things. Among other things, he's established himself. He owned a engineering company, and he uses it to fund solar panel projects in Africa. And he goes over there with his church every year. And he also uses it to fund plug-in a level 2 charging at charities and government agencies in West Virginia and Ohio. And so far, he's put in chargers at Green Bank, at Fairmont State. He's mailed the charger. I still don't know if it's actually been installed yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's been installed yet.
And a couple libraries like in Belpre and Marietta. And he said, bring him more suggestions. So I guess Rick is the one behind the one at the Science Center.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know anybody that would like to, it has to be on, so he can get a tax deduction because it's a nonprofit that's giving out the money in the Canaan Valley that would like to install some charge points in addition to the Canaan Valley, the 2 parks. Let us know, and we'll get in touch with Chip or.
My wife is president of the board of directors for the library we have in Thomas, and they're in the process of trying to build a new building, physical building. And I mentioned this to her, so at least they're aware of it. So if they finally get to that point where they can build something new, that would be.
Oh,
okay.
Speaking of libraries, there was a large or decent sized library over here in Hedgesville that just got a whole new solar system put on top of the library. It's supposed to offset like pretty much all of their use. So if they're going to do a new building, solar and EV charging, all in one.
That's what I'm pushing her for.
Hey, Robert, maybe you could tell them about Chip's program.
Oh, for Hedgesville?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I'll mention that to them. I think they just turned on the solar system recently, so it's all fresh.
That would be great.
I had a comment on a place to put a charger. I just thought about you guys talking about ski resorts. How about Winter Place? It's like 5 minutes off I-77. That would be a really good place for there to be a charger at some point.
Yeah, we
That's
couldn't use Chip's program for that, but it'd be great if we could talk. That was owned by Bill Bright, but didn't he die? Who owns it now?
I don't know. I'm looking at their website here right now. It's I'm not sure what their status is these days. It's been pretty hit and miss as far as
We're going to have to get a vaccine for those guys to become.
Yeah. But, they get all this business from Charlotte. There'd be a lot of potential use of charger.
Well, I mean, anything that needs fast charging, though, that's going to be a different animal than new chargers.
But we still need more level 2s.
Yeah. It's just for the travelers coming from Charlotte or on the major interstates, the level 2s aren't going to, they're great for destination charging, but yeah, not so much for traveling.
I've got a question. For you guys, in most cases, are you the drivers of your vehicles? Do your spouses drive them?
My wife likes to drive it too. She says the next car we get has to be electric so that she has a Tesla too.
How do I get my wife to drive mine?
I have that issue, Jim.
No, I had the Corvette. In the 12 years I had it, she drove it once. I said, what if we're in DC and something happens to me and you have to get back home? I'll find somebody to take me home. She would not drive the car.
Well, a Bolt is an automatic transmission.
I know. She's driven it once. And I said, the reason we got it is for all this local crap. We've got your car in the wintertime, or if we have to go a long ways, but it's for the local stuff. And I cannot get her to drive it.
Well, and Jim, I think one comment about that, I think part of that is our own faults, because we're so into the car and, you know, care about the car, and I think it makes them nervous that if something happens to it while they have it.
Our position between Susan and I are that whoever's driving the most that day, which has gone by the wayside with COVID, but back before that, gets the car that day, and the other gets whatever other car we had here. Right now is the van. And also for my kids, they both, I think, avow that they both drive hybrids, a Prius and a hybrid Camry. I think pretty much when they purchase another car, it will be an EV. We probably never buy another gas-powered, even probably not a hybrid car. All four of us feel that strongly about it.
Same here.
No, I would go the same way, because if, you know, once her car has to be replaced, it'll be another electric, and I'm going to take the tack that if they still don't have the distance or charging capabilities, I just as soon go rent a car for a long term.
Yeah. Do consider Teslas, because we've driven many places across the country and everything, not all the way to the West Coast, but New England, Wisconsin, and lots of places, and no problem getting there in reasonable charge times.
Yeah, we've gone to Texas twice. And one trip we took a week, and we ended up staying at this town along the Mississippi River in Illinois. And there wasn't what we ended up doing to charge the car is running an extension cord out of the second floor condo we were staying in down to the car. We were the only people staying there. And I offered to pay the guy, and he said, just leave a big tip for the cleaning staff. So, but there's always a plug somewhere, and we've had great experience traveling, staying at Airbnbs and charging up with them. You can always find a plug somewhere, and the supercharger network is really growing quickly right now. I think today there's 840 superchargers open, and another 140 somewhere in the construction or planning stages that have been identified by third parties.
Yeah, and I had numbers actually when I updated the website. I put numbers for the superchargers and EA stations as of April 30th. So you can kind of see where they were at on April 30th, and you know it's always growing on for both Tesla and Electrify America.
Yeah, EA is going through a third a solicitation for their Cycle 3, and we intend to send them a letter next month saying please charge at Tamarack and Charleston and Morgantown.
Yep. All right. Well, let me see. We're about 20 minutes till. I don't. If anyone else had any show and tell, I was going to show my cup. I had a cup made for WVEAA on this side, and then I've got my always full, never fuel EV plug vehicle on the other. So there's for coffee and EVs. I had to have a WVEAA coffee cup.
Where'd you get that made?
Walmart photo, actually. They've got it online. You can upload your photos and pick a cup design and color, and put your print on it, and then they'll actually just ship it to you.
Robert, do you mind sharing the design that you set up with Walmart? And
yeah, I can share out it's just a bitmap image that you can apply to the cup. You can do photos and whatever, but I just got a bitmap image that I created. Yeah, I'll share that out. All right. Anybody else have any show and tell stuff or any other topics along those lines? I've got a couple more things I want to hit.
Well, am I online with you all now?
I see Larry's online. We can barely hear you, Larry.
Let me see if my volume's up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm just seeing a tiny screen of people.
Robert, you
Oh, I'm
kill your
sharing.
share.
Yeah, let me kill my share. There we go.
Oh, okay. I might show a couple of things just to. My daughter got me this shirt.
All right.
The other thing is, don't have an exact date yet, and I got some trash over here, and my wife has been working on the garage. Let me get this trash out of the way. But all right, can you all see?
Oh, Powerwall goes there.
All right.
And there's a gateway. You see, those are the I made cardboard cutouts of the size, and so they're talking about doing it as early as the first week in July, but haven't got confirmation on that yet.
Is your solar on now?
No, that's when they're going to do. They had some backlog of other work, so they delayed me.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping it's going to be in July, but they haven't given me a confirmation on that yet.
All right.
In 37 panels, 11.8 kW.
Awesome.
And the power pack is 13 kWh,
I believe it's 14.
14.
I think there's 13 and a half usable, but yeah, I think it's like literally like 14 or something.
Okay. By the way, I'm building my own Powerwall, and the batteries just showed up today. I got about 160 1865 skateboard batteries, used skateboard batteries. So I got to start taking them apart and conditioning them. So see now I only have one four slot tester. It's going to take me a while.
Yeah. It'll be a
Time
little
this
while.
COVID is over, I should have myself like a 1.5 kWh Powerwall. And I'm going to use it to run an aerator in the pond up in Fayetteville. But
All right.
if this proves to be functional, I may build my own Powerwall to power a new house we're going to build.
Have you seen that Thomas Congressman off-grid thing in Kentucky?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Larry.
Have you seen that Thomas Massey off-grid setup?
No.
I've read about it. He's a congressman. He has a Tesla, and he did like a whole off-grid home type thing.
Yeah, he's pretty off-grid, and his batteries, lead acid batteries, were down to like an eighth function or something like that, and he went from Kentucky to Georgia and picked up a battery pack out of a Model S, and he had a video. I thought it was pretty interesting, where he tore it apart, and he got parts from this guy, Jack Riker.
Oh, yeah, Jack Rickard guy. Yeah.
And anyway, he came up with a much better system. And
yeah, I bought my batteries from Yahoo. Garcia is online, and he puts out a lot of videos. And anyway, I bought the holders and the BMSs from him, and now he had a deal on batteries for under $2 a battery, so that was pretty good. But I have to check them and see. He says the ones he tested were all about 95% of the original capacity, but I have to check them.
Do you have a capacity tester?
I have four slots, test 4 batteries at a time. I got 160 to test. I ordered a second one, so now I'll be able to do 8.
That's good. I can only test one, but
One at a time. Well, this will take it through the cycle, depleted. I have one for nickel hydride. I use it for D cells. Have a couple exterior lights that are battery powered, and I condition those and with the D cells, and then I'm going to do the 1865s, and that'll, someday I'll have something to show people, but right now I don't have anything. And I have
All
a
right.
buddy that lives in an RV, and he was stuck in Texas with nothing to do. So he said, "Can I please have all your components, and I'll solder them all together for you because I'm bored and have nothing to do." So he's got them all put together, and he's back up here in West Virginia, and we're probably going to get together next week to test out the bat and start looking at the batteries.
Mm.
So eventually, with the new house, if we ever get it built in Fayette County, I may be all off grid as well.
Good for you, Marty.
I'm now currently planning to put in the conduit to do an underground power line. I'd rather have backup grid power than a generator, and so if you don't use it, it's only $16 a month. So.
yeah, I think
We're in Fayette County.
On Route 16, about 4 miles south of the red light on 19 and 16. It's called Tomlin Road. It's off of Bachman Road, which is road into the Bachman Road is where the water plant is. So it's near Beckwith. There's a big church there in Beckwith.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay.
All right. Well, while we've got a few more minutes, I did want to touch on Indu a little bit. It looks like we're probably going to be doing virtual events for Indu. And one, idea that we had talked about was doing some recordings of drives in the electric vehicles that we've got access to. And if we had a dealer who was willing to be helpful, we could do that too. But it's like I was wanting to know if we had some folks who might volunteer to do a video of different models. So I know we've got some Model 3 owners, we've got Bolt owners. Anybody want to set up some time to do that? I think, Scott, you mentioned you might be able to help do that for the Model 3, like take a ride with Marty or something. Maybe you guys could do a Model 3 video.
Well, and I'd also draft my son, who's been the instrumental person in doing live streaming from our church. So hopefully pretty good production.
Do we have anybody have a GoPro that can set up something to hold a cell phone?
Well, he's been using his iPhone 8 and it's been doing wonderful. He pipes the audio in church into it from the soundboard. We won't need to do that in a car, of course, but we could probably draft him to do it.
Okay. I mean, because I think it'd be great if we could get some recordings for the vehicles doing your typical, the typical questions that people ask during an Indu event, during the drive, ride and drive.
What is the Indu event?
Yeah, for those who may not be familiar with it, it's called, we use the abbreviation Indu, NDEW, which stands for National Drive Electric Week. And that's coming up. It's an annual week where generally we have in-person events that allow the public to come in and see the cars, electric vehicles, and take rides with owners that are willing to give rides. Or maybe even some events have driving available. Like if a dealer's there and they want to allow people to drive the cars, test drive the cars, that you can do that as well. So it's a big annual public education event and promotion for electric that happens in September. Generally, it happens in the middle of September. This year, it's actually a little bit later, late September, running into a little bit of October. So that's the time frame that we're looking at. So if we had some recordings that we could post on our YouTube channel and start, publicizing, like, hey, we've got those recorded videos, and then during that week, the actual week of, I would like to probably do events like this where we do a live like Q&A. People can watch the videos, and then we can do some Q&As about the videos and answer additional questions.
Can you tell me the date, the week again? When
Yes. Hold on a second
We
here.
just got an email on that yesterday, didn't we?
I did see some stuff recently from them.
Yeah.
There's a whole website for it. Let me just pull that up. All right, here, John. So it's driveelectricweek.org, and it's September 26th, October 4th.
Well, I was talking yesterday with an engineer at West Virginia Public Broadcasting, and they're desperate for material on the West Virginia channel. And I've just been trying to think how I could make a quick half-hour video that had some kind of storyline to it. Something about why electric cars are appropriate for West Virginia, and kind of go through it.
Wow, that would be great if we could get a half-hour thing on there somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, it has to be something besides, there's a million blogs, out there, and it has to be something that's more of a storyline, I think.
And I think with Marty and I and Larry all here in Charleston, their headquarters are here in Charleston. We three would be happy to meet with whichever producer and reporter might like to do it. We can do all the social distancing.
Somebody,
Yes.
I would probably just do it and give it to them. That's basically they'll put about anything on that's halfway well produced and free.
Well,
I also wanted to put a plug in for National Solar Tour. It actually coincides with National Drive Electric Week. I usually participate in both of these. So the National Solar Tour is a similar kind of event where it's people giving tours, open houses of solar homes and businesses. And there are participants in West Virginia. I'm one of them, and there are many others who participate in the National Solar Tour. And just a little bit of trivia, the webpage that I'm sharing, it says the National Solar Tour. You see that photo behind that? I took that photo, and it's at Moorfield at a technical community college in Moorfield, Eastern West Virginia Community Technical College. And so I thought it was kind of cool that they actually ended up using some of my photos for the website.
Anyway, Eddie Isom is the director of television there. If you do get contact with somebody at, and want to say,
who are you talking to? Can you give us that information again so we can write it down? Ed who?
Eddie, E-D-D-I-E, Isom, I-S-O-M.
ISOM?
Yeah.
Correct. I get emails from him all the time about, because we give significant to them, and they, here's what's on the whatever the
Passport.
passport on Passport.
But, anyway, it's I keep meaning to get something on paper, some ideas I have about maybe a storyline. It might just be my quest to buy an electric car that's suitable for West Virginia or something, going through and talking to different owners and stuff like that. I have a friend with a drone, film some of you guys driving along from up above. I think I'm confident enough not to crash it on you.
Yeah, we have some drone shots from one of our Indus.
Yeah, last year's South Charleston Indu.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the fact is, if you go to our webpage, it's one of the pictures that's rotating around there.
I think I might have it on the photo gallery. Yeah, there's one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, too far. There we go.
Yeah,
these three.
Definitely something to weave in the storyline is how you guys have gotten state parks to put in some chargers, things like that.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I gave a speech, and the head of tourism was in the audience, and he just did it.
That's great.
Yeah, he never talked to us again. We didn't know about it until it was done.
Wow. Wow.
It just goes to show the little conversations that we may have, every day can make big changes.
Yeah.
I've got one other question. Has anyone heard how many comments on the FERC issue, FERC, came in and so forth?
I did get an email about that from Sun. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was 50-some thousand.
Yeah. And there were two opposing. There were two in favor of banning net metering and 50,000 opposed to it.
Yeah, so it was pretty successful effort in getting folks to respond. And thank you for anyone here who took the time to send in the form trying to convince FERC not to ban net metering nationally.
Yeah, my whole family did individual ones.
Excellent. Well, John, that sounds like a great idea. If there's any way we can help provide information or photos or just anything you want, I did kind of like your story. If you need a story, concept, maybe like you said, your journey.
Well, I'm on another
buying electric car
webinar.
I said my journey, I might have somebody else be me, So, but yeah.
John, it'd either be you or Larry's lifelong experiments with, building his own electric car, and the fact that every device in his garage is electric, his lawnmowers, chainsaws.
Yeah.
I think it'd make a great half-hour program.
Yeah.
I'm serious, half-hour, even an hour, Larry and you, all that you've done over the years.
Yeah, well,
He could ride away on his electric bike in the sunset to end it.
That sounds great. Maybe we'll send Eric down and let him be the producer of it.
I was actually thinking, these guys that have the souped up trucks that blow out all the black smoke, I guess diesel trucks.
Yeah, the coal rolling.
Right. I thought it might be good to open up if I could meet one of those guys and, start out the video showing that stuff blasting up, and then talk to that guy every now and then, but then send him off on a Tesla at the end, and just show his face when you get the gas.
I'd rather not. Publicity.
I mean, it is something to worry about. If anybody's seen the book America's War, the novel, because the big culture war item in there were the fossil cars versus the electric cars.
Yeah,
it became a real culture war issue.
Yeah, Mike Mann's coming out with another. He's a professor up at Penn State that came up with the hockey stick curve. Coming out with a new book called The New Climate War. I just got a notice on it.
Did you guys see that Siberia hit 100 degrees this past week?
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
So anyway, whatever we do, I wanted to kind of diffuse the culture war issue,
So I
way.
through all this, with lots of time and not much to do, I've found this series of videos of a couple on a boat, on a sailboat, that took Greta Thunberg back to Europe after her several-month-long visit to the United States. And I really became interested in these couples that make a living doing YouTube videos. And there's actually quite a few trying to do it. This couple that took Greta Thunberg back actually make 6 figures a year from their YouTube videos. But another couple I found, they're not quite as wealthy or as popular, was this couple. He's from Canada and she's from Haiti. And they bought an old sailboat and the diesel motor that you use to get in and out of port and stuff was fried. So they bought a forklift motor for $100, and electric forklift motor, and some batteries, and hooked it up, and that's what they use to sail with. And they've been doing this for years now, and that as they get more popular on YouTube, they're able to upgrade to lithium batteries and put a new motor in it and a new type of transmission and stuff. And it's really fascinating to see how they get by with no fossil fuels sailing around the world.
And that's their job. Huh?
That's their job, is to make these videos. Yeah. And you know, and she's a acrobat of some sort and does this circus Olay with the ribbons that you dance up and down on and all that stuff. It's just an amazing way of life. And their most popular videos is when they sailed last fall. They sailed from Newfoundland to England, and it took them 2.5 weeks to sail. And I just, geez, I would not want to. And this little, just tiny little boat with no fossil fuel. It was all wind and solar voltaics, and they use their solar voltaics to keep all their radars and satellite communication and all that stuff running.
And lights at night.
And lights at night with 2 solar panels. That's just simply amazing.
Yeah.
Gotta go, guys.
Looks like
Hey, good
All right,
talking.
Jim.
One last thing on the environmental front is a program that West Virginia Public Radio has on at 6 in the morning on Saturdays, Living on Earth. They had Bill McKibben on for a half hour, and fascinating guy. He wishes we got started on climate a long time ago, but he sees a lot of success in divestment of fossil fuels. It's catching on.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, John, we'll get back in touch with you about making a video.
I'll try to put some time in and try to outline some ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Also, old retired guys should have enough time to do something like that.
yeah, I'd be glad
we
to
got-
help with that. And up until September 1st, probably could draft Eric for some of the camera stuff.
Yeah, guys, be thinking about doing any type of videos we can do in the cars to show off a Bolt and, you know, or a Model 3 or whatever other models we could get. Maybe that dealer, it would be nice if we could get a dealer involved.
Sure.
Who could get some free promotion, like the Bolt dealer that's in Hurricane. You know, if they would help record a video and we could help publicize it. I mean, hey, that's.
I think it would be really good to show the people that are out on the limb selling electric cars in the state.
Yeah.
Our local Nissan dealer and looked at the Leaf, you know, that was
You got a Nissan dealer that's selling and servicing Leafs?
in Beckley they have one in the showroom. I don't know if it's still there, but they did about a year ago.
Well, I bought mine at Moses in Huntington, so they at that time they were anyway.
Yeah, what Tim Hebstrom, so one of our members who lives in Florida, he's gave up on Leafs. He's got this agonizing story of the only dealer that would repair his heater, and his just the cabin heater was in Clarksburg, and so he arranged to charge at the level 2 charger at the Chevy dealer in Flatwoods, and he got within 200 feet of the dealer when it died. And he was right in front of a Cadillac place, and they would not let him plug in. He had an extension cord with him. They would not. He had to have his car towed 200 feet. And needless to say, he doesn't own a Leaf anymore. The dealers in Huntington, Beckley, and St. Albans would not work on the car.
Well, I found out my generator. I have a Honda generator, and you can get this adapter, and it'll plug into an electric car. So I
Wow.
take that in my truck and go rescue somebody, including myself.
All right, guys. Anything else before we adjourn?
Thank you, Robert, for doing this.
Yes, Robert, thanks.
I'll mention one thing here, and I don't know if, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, one of the news, I think it's Channel 8, back in 2008, I had that Miles electric, low-speed electric vehicle, and they came to my house, and I took the lady reporter for a drive in it, and I've got the video on that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that stuff would be great to collect. If you guys have any video that you could get to me in some form on a flash drive.
That would be great to put on our website.
Yeah, actually, I was getting ready to say that. If we've got that video, I'd like to put that on the YouTube channel. And
Okay.
link to it from the website.
I'll try to email that to you.
Or,
You have it
yeah, if it's, you might not be able to email it if it's that large. If it's digital, if you could upload it to like a Dropbox, or I could give you a link where you could upload it to Google Drive, Larry.
Okay. I would appreciate that. And John, I don't know if I have your email address. I probably do, but I'll see if I can.
I'll see if I have yours here and get it to you. I think I do.
I've got a question for the group. When we create these videos, what rights do we have as far as keeping them copyrighted for ourselves or the West Virginia EAA and so forth, but share them with good organizations like West Virginia Public Broadcasting? How does that all work?
Well, all I do is put a copyright by and whoever on there. I just dissolved my company last year, so I've just been working for free for people because I get Social Security and a pension, and I've got all the equipment. So I just did a project for an organization, gave it to them as far as the copyright. Although we didn't formally get a copyright because I don't think anybody's going to steal the stuff. But we can just put a copyright by the association, and for educational use only. Any usage of it, please contact anybody who wants to use it. Just put that kind of statement at the end, and
Yeah, we could try something like that.
You could use the copy left or the common copyright
Attribution.
Yeah. Hey, great meeting. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to sign out.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all.
Larry,